Hey there, my name's Haydn, Halsted, your real estate resource here in Spokane, Washington. And if you're thinking about retiring to Spokane, then this video is for you. Today, we're going to talk about the best neighborhoods for retirees, activities you should do, healthcare, all the things that you should know if you're considering making the move here to retire or you already live here and are deciding if you want to stay. So make sure to stay till the end because we have a ton of tips that are going to help make the process and decision a lot easier for you. And if by the end you found this video helpful, make sure to like it and hit the subscribe button as we're releasing videos about Spokane every single week to help you make a decision on if you should buy into Spokane, if you should sell and get out of here, and everything in between. I just aim to be your resource for everything real estate here in Spokane. All right, so let's just touch on some of the main reasons why Spokane is great for retirees in the first place. So for any of the retirees that I have worked with, here are some of the main reasons that they decide to buy or stay here in Spokane. One, the natural just beauty of our area. They like being in a place that's not too hot, it's not too cold. They have the option of also being a snowbird in the winter if they are too cold, because I know a lot of retirees that will have a place in Spokane and then also a second place down in like Arizona that they will go to for 3-4 months out of the year to avoid the snow completely. But then they don't want to be there when it's 120 degrees outside, so they come back to Spokane for a little bit more of a mild summer. And so along with that natural beauty is our 4 seasons here in Spokane, and so you get to really be a part of beautiful spring blooms. And so if you're into gardening and being outside and anything like that, then Spokane can be a great opportunity for you. And we'll dig into some specifics here in this video in regards to cost of groceries and healthcare and things like that. But in regards to a lot of major cities out there, I've had a lot of people retire from Seattle or from California, and they're cashing out on much more expensive homes and then being able to buy a home here in cash and only have to worry about their property tax and insurance bill, are really able to lock in their finances heading into a more of a fixed income time of their life. And then overall, I think that Spokane has just a pretty welcoming community, especially among seniors. There's a lot of community events, a lot of places to go to get community, and we're going to touch base on a couple of the options around here. But as long as you're open to getting involved and putting yourself out there, there's a lot of others that would love to meet you and hang out as well. So I think having a good sense of community in Spokane is another strong reason why people decide to retire here. So let's touch base on a handful of the best neighborhoods, or the neighborhoods really that some of my clients have chosen to live in when picking their retirement home. So the first one is the South Hill. I mean, people just love the proximity to the many parks on the South Hill, the tree-lined streets, and the natural beauty of that area. Additionally, it's very, very close and convenient to all the major medical facilities. Sacred Heart is just minutes away. This can be an attractive area for retirees that have proximity to medical centers in mind. The one downside of the South Hill is that there's many older homes. There are some newer things just depending on your budget that you could purchase. But if you're looking in that average price of $400,000 to $600,000, you're likely to get maybe an older home. And so you just have to be still open to the fact that you might have to do some maintenance on your home over time versus maybe something that's a little more turnkey. There are a lot of options for condos on the lower South Hill, pretty close to the hospitals, and you could land one of these condos for anywhere from $350,000 to $450,000 generally. So some of the good options in this area would be addresses like 20 West Sumner, 831 South Cali, and there's another condominium on the other side of the street of Cali as well, and those are really within a minute drive to the hospital. So really, if you want to be just very close and not have to worry about that at all, then the condos at the lower South Hill might be a great option for you. Next up would be the Audubon Downriver neighborhood. So now this neighborhood, I've been calling it the mini South Hill, but again, it has beautiful tree-lined streets. It's an older neighborhood, smaller houses generally than the South Hill, so maybe a little bit less maintenance and not quite as old. South Hill, you can buy homes that were built in the 50s for sure in little pockets, but you're going to run into a little bit more often homes built in the earlier 1900s. Audubon Downriver is a little bit more mid-century, 1950s or so. And so again, if you're still into doing a few DIY projects around the house in your retirement, then it can be a great neighborhood as well. I live in the Audubon Downriver neighborhood, and every single person on my block is a retiree. I am the youngest in my neighborhood by 40 years at least, but the biggest draw to this neighborhood is proximity again to parks and being very walkable, the proximity to the golf courses, which we're going to touch on even more in just a minute, and being close to the Spokane River, Riverside State Park to get out for some hikes and things like that. And then lastly on this little short list here is Liberty Lake, which we've talked a lot about on this channel, but there's some great options out there, whether you're looking for some condominiums like the Big Trout condominiums. I've had lots of clients move in and out of the Big Trout condominiums. You actually get a garage, there's good space in those condos, or you could look at other neighborhoods like Trutina, a 55 plus plus neighborhood. I just had a retiring client move into the River District, and not in Trutina specifically, the 55 plus, but just in the neighborhood of the River District, because it was a very turnkey home, very quiet neighborhood, things like that. And then again, if you have a little bit more of a budget, obviously there's some very nice luxury properties in the Liberty Lake area as well. So it really just depends on how much money you're playing with. But if you're really looking for a quiet lifestyle, peaceful environment, but also a very strong community, Liberty Lake is a very tight-knit community. And so that would be a great place for you to easily make friends, get involved in the neighborhood, in the community, and live a little bit more of a suburban lifestyle. And so now if you really want a specific 55 plus community, you want it to be 55 plus, on my website, halstedhometeam.com, you can go to the resources tab and go down to 55 plus communities. And we've listed all of them out in the Spokane area. We have a map showing where all of them are at. You could click on it. It'll give you a brief synopsis of what the neighborhood has to offer and things like that. You can also type halstedhometeam.com/55 communities, and it'll pop up there. So now the next question I always get from retirees is, how is the healthcare here in Spokane? And luckily Spokane is a medical hub. Because we are the largest city between Seattle and Minneapolis, we have a huge medical center here in the Spokane area. We've already touched on a few, Sacred Heart being right at the base of the South Hill, and Deaconess is just down the road from there. Those are kind of the two major hospitals. There's Holy Family on the north side. And then even if you were to live in some of the smaller surrounding towns like Deer Park, they all have an urgent care up there that you could be rushed to. And then if you had to be shuttled down to the main hospital at Sacred Heart or Deaconess, they would be able to ambulance you down there. Or even if like you lived in Davenport, like an hour to the west, Davenport has its own hospital system that's actually fairly robust, and then they could life flight you or ambulance you into Spokane if needed. So if you want to live within the city limits and be close proximity, you're never going to be within 5 minutes of services of some sort, or an ambulance being able to get there within 5 minutes. If you want to live more rural, obviously there's a risk associated with that, but most of the rural areas have medical centers available, and so quick help, quick access is really not a major concern around here. So now let's talk about how to stay busy in your retirement. Spokane is a great place for that. I mean, it's a great place to just start a new hobby, explore new activities and things like that. And so the first thing would be just all of our outdoor activities. If you are into hiking and biking, we have tons and tons of trails. We could find you a specific neighborhood that had integrated trails so that you had varying ways to walk around your neighborhood and explore the area. If you're into fishing and boating, you could be out on Long Lake within 20 minutes of waking up. I just was out there a few weeks ago fishing at 5 in the morning, and it's like a 7-minute drive to my house to get to the Long Lake public boat launch. But there are 76 lakes within an hour drive of Spokane, and so if you're ready to get up early, you want to get out on the water, you want to park your boat somewhere, there are tons and tons of options to do so. And of course, if you're into golf, Spokane's a great place for that. There's over 24 golf courses within an hour drive of Spokane between Washington and Idaho. So you could play a new golf course nearly every day of the week and just cycle through them. But if you want to live in a neighborhood like Audubon Downriver, you could be 2 minutes to the golf course. Indian Canyon's only about 10 minutes from here. But there's a lot of different options, whether you want to play the public courses, you want to get a private membership at one of the more private courses. It's not uncommon to see people just riding their golf carts down the street in Liberty Lake, the Downriver neighborhood, Manitou, things like that, where the golf course is really integrated in with the local community. So now in regards to like nightlife and keeping entertained after hours, we have a great art scene here in the Spokane area. So if you're into live music, you can see the symphony or the Spokane Jazz Orchestra. If you're into art, we have great museums. We just finished up Art Fest here in Spokane. And if you're into theater, we have the Spokane Civic Theater. We have Broadway shows coming through Spokane constantly. You can go catch a comedy show at the Spokane Comedy Club. There just really is a lot to do here in Spokane. It is not going to have every single amenity that a big city would, but if you're not looking for a huge party, like I'm sure you're not in your retirement age, then Spokane is a great spot for that. There's also great opportunities to get involved with philanthropy and things like that. If you're looking to donate some money or donate to charity, things like that, there are tons of great options and different large events to get involved in. So depending on where you are in life and how much you have to spend in your retirement, things like that, there's different social clubs and communities that you could get a part of. So in terms of like some of the more expensive options, you would be able to get a part of like the Manitou Country Club, things like that, the Spokane Club, and just be involved in these larger, more expensive groups to be a part in. The networking options are great. The opportunities to be invited to maybe some larger galas and things like that. Those are all going on around Spokane, and it's really just getting yourself out there and hearing about them to go to those. But even on the more humble side of things, getting involved in places like the Corbin Senior Activity Center, that place is on fire all the time. If you look at the calendar, there is something going on almost every hour of every single day. And so if you were just looking for a group of people similarly minded, similarly aged, things like that, I would look at some of these senior centers around Spokane, not like a senior center that you go live at full time, but just a senior gathering center. And if you're just looking for people to talk to or play a board game with or anything like that, I would check out the Corbin Center, because it's, like I said, you can go do dance lessons, you can go play board games, you can just grab coffee with people, and it's a really good community over there. So now let's dig a little deeper into the cost of living here in Spokane. That's always a big concern in retirement, is the cost of living, because obviously you're going to move into more of a fixed income time of your life. You don't want your expenses to change too much, and you want them to be relatively affordable while living off of your retirement. So fortunately, Spokane is still considered quite affordable compared to many other cities. If you want to move to the Midwest or Florida, you might be able to find somewhere cheaper, but if you're looking to live on the West Coast and you have family in the area, and if you're trying to stay close to family on this side of the country, something like that, Spokane's one of your best options in regard to Western cities. Housing prices are still reasonable. They're below the national average, in the low 400s. Rent prices are even cheaper. And so if you're somebody that doesn't want to necessarily buy and you'd like to just rent, you could rent a place right now. And this is really one of the only times in history where renting is just more affordable than buying. So it might be something to look at in regards to your situation on if it makes sense to rent versus buy. Of course, if you need to move into an actual senior living center or something like that, those are crazy expensive, but I imagine you've done your research and understand that process. If you'd like a list for those retirement homes around Spokane, there are plenty of them, and so I'd love to send that to you and help you do some research on which one might be best for you, so just reach out. You will pay a premium if you're looking for a private 55 plus community where it is limited, that's gated, things like that. So just remember that is probably going to add quite a bit to your budget if you are looking for no kids in your area. So just keep that in mind as well. But in regards to things like utilities, groceries, healthcare, those things tend to be cheaper here in the Spokane area. Gas is very expensive in Washington in general. I think we are the second most expensive in the United States right now. The lowest I've paid recently was $3.80. And that was by finding the cheapest gas station that I also have a membership at. So I got 15 cents off per gallon. So generally it's about $4 to $4.20 right now. But I've talked to many people moving here from across the country, and in regards to like our electric bills and things like that, we are significantly cheaper than California, Texas, and we don't have concerns about power outages nearly as much as those places either. If you have a relatively modest, newer home, I wouldn't expect to spend more than like $350 tops per month on water, sewer, garbage, and electric and gas combined. And that's like in the middle of the winter. In the summertime, it will be less than that. If you have an older home that's very inefficient, on some of the winter months, you might pay a combined total of upwards of $500. But I've talked to people from Texas where their electric bill was $500 for the month. And then again, depending on your income in your retirement, you should look at a property tax exemption. It's on a tiered list, and you can find it on the Spokane County website. If you make less than $54,000 a year in your retirement, it's worth looking at just to see if you qualify and seeing if you can save some money on property taxes every month. So my biggest tips for your move here or decision to stay here in Spokane in your retirement is to get involved with as many activities and social clubs as you can. Stay around people and have fun. Explore the area. Take your time to pick which neighborhood that you want to age in place in and be able to walk around in every single day. Of course, Spokane's very small and accessible, and you could drive to any neighborhood within 15-20 minutes. But just take the time to find the one that fits your lifestyle best, whether it's older, newer, more walkable, less walkable, things like that. And then just stay informed. And don't just stay informed by just watching the news every single day. That's not really a great thing all the time, but make sure you're just staying informed on the local activities going on in Spokane, the things that you can do, or the things that you can get involved in to make an impact on the city in your retirement. So I think retiring in Spokane offers a wonderful opportunity to enjoy a fulfilling and affordable lifestyle in this vibrant community. If you have any questions about retiring here in Spokane, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can call, text, email me anytime with the info down below. And if you'd like to just book a Zoom call with me, you can use the link in the description to book a meeting on my calendar at a time that's convenient for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.